let's start talking about the star. And the star, it's, in the tarot, in the major arcana, it's number 17. So it comes in after the tower. So there's always the implication that there's been a tower moment when the star comes in. And with that tower falling and the tower fall, it's shocking. We don't really like that kind of a change as human beings. We are creatures of habit. But with it falling, we now have a new opportunity to begin something new. And that is the star. It brings in hope. It brings in healing. Now, talking about healing for a moment, especially if you're dealing with something that happened, whether it was last week, last month, last year, no matter what it was, there may be a part of you, for some of you, that's thinking, well, when I feel completely whole, when I feel completely healed, then I will move forward. Then I will move forward. Then I will go and look for a new opportunity. Then I will start a new journey. Then I will pick my destiny. And that's what the star says. It's written in the stars. This is my path. This is my destiny. And what is that? What is fate? What is destiny? We have those kind of concepts that come up with the star. Fate are the opportunities that show up, and we turn it into our destiny by walking. It's doorways that show up. First, we must spot that, oh, that's my doorway. And then we must walk through it. Now, if you're one of those people that's thinking, well, when I've fully gotten over that breakup, or when I feel better when I feel less afraid about doing this, then I'll go do it. The star with the 8 of Swords kind of says, well, no, you're not actually going to get over that. I did do a video on fear for the Sagittarius season challenge. Excuse me. I think it was day 1 that was about fear. And, the only way through that fear is not just going to go away, is to do it, to start walking towards that. Now, the thing with the star, and that's the beautiful advice here that comes in, especially if you're worried. You pick your star, whatever that might be, relationship, job, home, a career, or that amount of money you want to earn, whatever it might be, right? Your family. We all have different, that's why there's so many stars, right? We pick our star. The point is not that we pick the star and get it. The point is, once you pick your star, you've given yourself a roadmap. You've given yourself a roadmap. So think about that. If I set myself a goal, I don't know, way back when, before I started YouTube, and I was like, okay, so I'm going to be a tarot reader on YouTube. That's my star that I've picked. I'm going to get my message out to people. I want to do that. Great. I've picked my star. But then the roadmap becomes, okay, Jay, well, then you need to figure out how to make videos, how to upload them, to start a YouTube channel, maybe get social media, learn how to do certain types of readings for the general populace where you've always done personal readings. That becomes the roadmap then. That's the guidance. Now, if I was this, well, I'm afraid of, people seeing me or doing whatever, then that cancels that out. I might have picked that. But there's going to be fears. I still have some. I don't really have them as bad as I did. But when I first started, yeah, it was terrifying going in front of people and putting a part of yourself out there. But I still had to do it. I couldn't wait for it to go. It was only by doing it that I got better at it and more confident at it. So that's an important message for whatever that star is, whatever it is that you've set yourself a goal as. Because what the 8 of Swords says, it's the mental trap. And have a look. You've got swords coming up. That's all our thoughts, our beliefs, our ideas, and how we communicate them. And yet this can be a card of no communication. This can be a card of no communication. And so with the 8 of Swords, it's where that trap in our heads is telling us, I can't do this. I'm too young, too old, too fat, too skinny, not experienced enough. I'm not this, I'm not that, whatever. There are billions of reasons that our heads can come up for not doing this. And yet with the star, we just need one good reason. And that is that it brings us hope. That is that it's anywhere but here. That is that in the darkness of whatever that was, this is the shining light that to guide us and to take us forward. I know it's frightening, but trust me, you can do it. It wouldn't come up for you if you couldn't. And that's your advice there with the King of Wands coming up. So you can do this. Whenever we have, the King of Wands is like this, and I'm jumping forward, but just bear with me, is the celebrity, like he's comfortable in the spotlight. And the star, and what did I say? There was the sun here. This is the spotlight, and that's your star rising. So especially if this is about being seen more, dating or being recognized more in relationships, it indicates that. Or at work, if you want to get that promotion or move ahead in your career, this is perfect for that. But it won't just come to you. And that's where, we use the example of Google Maps. I've been saying this to just about everyone. And I've been saying this in personal readings to people in my personal life as well, especially when people say, I can feel it's coming in. I can feel it's going to happen. And it's like, it's not. It's either happening right now or it's not happening. Now, that's not to say it's not going to happen. It's an indication that, okay, if that's what the star says as well. If I'm at A and I go to Google Maps and say, how do I get to B? B doesn't move towards you, does it? You have to go to B. From A, you start making your way towards B. And that's what this is. And I feel like you've got that flight plan, you've got the travel plans going, even if you don't logically know it, because that's what seems to be freaking you out here. That, one of the things about water signs is that they can get very in their heads when the emotions get very high. But your emotions will save you out of this. And it will, trust me, 3 of Swords coming up there, it will. But the head, it looks for specific things. It gets stuck on specific ways of like, this is how I did it before. It has to be like that. Or, it has to be John down the street. It has to be Sarah from work. It has to be that particular company and that particular, that's the head. And we lock ourselves into one thing. That's what I was saying about the readings as well. Be open. Be open to however the messages come through to you at this time. Because as much as that star is our goal, our destiny, what we've set as the goal, it's then by setting that goal, the importance of that is what happens along the way, what happens on the way of us achieving. We're going to learn so much. We're going to gain so much. We're going to get everything that we need by going for what we want. But this feels big. So it's understandable if you'd get some of this around it, because that's what the star is. It's a card of manifestation. It's a card of wishes, right? That what we wish for, what our goal is. But whereas with the Magician and the Empress, those are cards of manifestation. We're working with what we have. We're trying to get what we want with what we have in our possession or what we're creating. The star is much bigger than that. It's much bigger than that. And I would remind you that, if you're thinking, well, why can't I have this? Why? Because there's a web. We're all part of this web, right? And so for things to line up, and I always say it this way, if you're waiting for one particular thing, that's like saying, I want that one particular dress. And there might just be one of that in the entire world, which very rarely there is. But somebody else might own that dress. So what are you going to do? Just wait for that dress to come through? Or will you say, well, I know why I love that dress or outfit, whatever it is. I know why I love that outfit. So why can't I feel the same way in another outfit? Why does it have to be black with red embroidery and off the shoulder and custom made for that person? Why can't it be blah, blah, etc.? That will show off my ankles the same way. That will show off my, whatever it might be. Very silly example, but of a very important concept. Now, at the heart of everything is the 9 of Swords. So I get it. You probably know what you want. You probably know what your wish is. You probably know what your desire is with that star coming up. This is saying, I'm not good enough, or I can't do this. Why? Because the 9 of Swords at the heart of this, what everything revolves around, is saying, because I don't know if, and it's something to do with the future. If this will happen, if that will happen, if they'll say yes, if they'll say no, if I'll get the job, if I'll be good enough. But all we have is the now. The present moment is really all we have. And if you think of your life, it's a series of nows. Even the past, it's a memory from the present. You don't always remember the past in the same way. Just after a breakup, you're going to remember that relationship in one way. A year on, 2 years on, you're going to remember that relationship in a different way. So it's the present moment is always the point of power. And every future, I believe this, I live like this, every future exists in potentiality. Every future exists in potentiality. And if that's the case, then it just depends on what you're willing to do in the present to get that. So there is no such thing. And I say that to people that come to me and ask in readings, will this happen? Will it be good? Will it be bad? Should I do this? And it's like, why are you asking me? Because it depends on what you do right now. It will depend on what you do right now. I mean, imagine, for example, I wanted £1 million. So I said, I want £1 million. I can have £1 million. But am I willing to go rob a bank today to get £1 million? Am I willing to set myself a goal to get £1 million in 2 years. And so I'm willing to take on 2 extra jobs and do all this stuff. It depends on what you're willing to do now. You can have whatever you want. But that is a fear of the future. That's why the Nine of Swords is never as bad as it seems, because we're going so far into the future. The Four of Wands is beautiful. The fours, oh, you heard me say this plenty of times. The fours are always where we pause. It's a pause. And nothing much happens with the fours. But out of all the fours, I love this. And each one has its own reason for why we've paused, right? The basic energy around the fours is we've built a foundation. And with the Four of Wands, it encourages us to celebrate how far we've come. So for this example, with the star coming up there, I would say, hey, you survived that tower falling. You've survived up until this point. You had the courage to look up and actually find a new dream. Some of you are still looking for that dream, but look up, trust that, right? Because think about that. You might have an idea, an inkling, but if you're trying to play it safe with this, you're not going to see it. She's blindfolded. And she could escape that. She's not tied to anything. And she stood in a puddle of water. So her emotions will free her from what her head's telling her. And so with the Four of Wands, we celebrate how far we've come. Why do we do that? What is the point of that? It's not just to, hey, let's stop for a moment and celebrate. It's because it's going to kind of bolster our confidence in ourselves. It's going to say, well, look, you know what? I did good. I survived this. I did that. I've got a good foundation here now. And the purpose of that review, or looking back at that, is so that we can put in more effort to grow this. And you've got the perfect person coming up here to do that. It's like, okay, I did this. Right. So I'm going to up the ante. I'm going to go do this. I'm getting back on the horse. I'm going to put myself out there. That's the Five of Wands, right? That I'm going to do more. I'm going to face the challenges. And it's not about conflict. It's not about fighting. I'm actually going to enjoy the challenge that I set myself as I go for my star. So it's the effort that you put in. And that's what the Nine of Swords is saying. It's saying, why are you worrying about this? Because at this point, it depends on what you do, how you build on this. There's a leveling up about to happen, right? When the fours, we're about to build on that beautiful foundation we've laid. I gave this example for someone else. I don't remember who it was. It was either Taurus or Gemini. But when the Nine of Swords shows up, especially with the Four of Wands, this is saying you've laid the foundation, right, of for the house. So you're building a house. You've laid the foundation. But the Nine of Swords person is saying, oh my God, what if the roof starts leaking? And it's like, well, hold on a second. We haven't even got there yet. We haven't even laid the bricks for the house. We haven't even put the windows in or, done any of that stuff. Why are we worried about the roof? Why are we worried about the roof? That's why the Nine of Swords, it's one of those cards that says that, that could be a concern, but let's worry about it when we get there. Because right now it's just going to plague us. And the more we keep going over it and over it and over it, it's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And eventually what happens with that is, well, screw it. Let's not even build a house because the roof might leak. And it's like, whatever we're worried about, we can ensure that it doesn't happen. We can put an effort to make sure it doesn't happen. Four of Wands, right? At a very mundane level, the Four of Wands can be to do with a house move, a job move. And, or a change in the energy around us, a change in the people around us, something that encourages our creativity, because Wands is all about the action that we put in, the energy that we put out into the world, our creativity, our inspiration, our passions. And without these two, if you just had this would be beautiful. This is beautiful energy. Because we've got the star, which is that new beginning, hope. I know what I want. I know that's my wish. That's my dream. Four of Wands, I've got the perfect foundation on which to build on now. Perfect foundation. And yet this comes up, which is, I don't know if I'm enough to do this. I don't know if what I want out of this will happen. I don't know if the star's too far away. I don't know if I'll be able to do it. But you won't know till you try it. And in fact, I'll say this to you, especially with that Four of Wands coming up, you do actually know, Cancer. There's something that you know here. The Seven of Pentacles says that. There are 2 points in the cycle, because the cycle runs from the Ace to the 10. There are 2 points where we stop. This is to make sure that our foundation is good, to say, yes, we've got a good foundation. Let's build on this. We pause here. The sevens is also where we reevaluate. Like, we've been at this for a while now and we reevaluate. Is it is it worth it? I always say with the sevens, we're asking, is it worth it? So that's what you've just come through, where you have been asking, is it worth it? All the time and effort that I've been putting into this. Now, Pentacles is around our physical reality. It can be our bodies, our homes, our possessions, our work, our relationships even. Because anything that's physical, and I don't mean the idea of a relationship, that's like it's our literal relationships, things we can see, feel, and touch, people that are around us with the Pentacles. It's going to, long-term relationships, family, friends, if you're married or, whatever, you've been with someone for a while, someone who's there. And we always know, when the Seven of Pentacles comes up, we always know what we're getting back for all the effort that we've been putting into something. Now, have a look at her. For some people, you're going to look at that and think, that's not enough. She's growing all these plants. She's watering. Can you see her? She's looking. She's got that. Is it worth it? Do I keep watering this? Do I keep putting my emotions into this? What am I getting back from this? Did I want an apple tree and I'm getting oranges? Now, some people might look at that and think, wow, this is even better. Great. Oranges are even better than apples. They'll stay with it. For others, it's like, no, this is not enough. For all the effort and time and energy that I've put into this, it's not enough. And I will say this, with the star coming up here, this is a new beginning. Whether it's in an existing situation or a different situation, something completely new. I'm going to leave that job. I'm going to move house. I'm going to do whatever. I'm going to go have a new relationship, whatever it might be. But trust that let's not, when Seven of Pentacles comes up as the past, the writing is on the wall. You know this. You know what you get back for all the effort that you do. And you cannot sacrifice a present now for a future now that may or may not happen. With Pentacles, it's always about commitment. And it feels like you were in something for the long term. And it gets tricky, right? Because there may be a new opportunity coming up. There may be something new that you want now. But you've invested so much time and energy into this. That's what some people do. They think, well, I'll just stay with it because it's all I know. But we can change things up. The Four of Wands says that. We change the effort, the energy that we put into this, then the result that we get will be different as well, right? Now, how do we do that? Page of Swords. I also want to say this. I wonder if somebody, especially with the King of Wands sat underneath the Seven of Pentacles, if you've been like tinkering away in the background, like, maybe you've been peacemaker in the family, or you've been doing stuff at home in a relationship or at work, you're the kind of unsung hero that made sure that project got off, that, we hit the deadline or did whatever. Because I'm wondering if there's that, because that King of Wands changes that. He gets recognition for what he's done. So maybe you've been the one in the background assessing and saying, no, we need to get this result or do whatever. There's some of that coming in as well. Now, with the Page of Swords in the present, the Page of Swords doesn't lie. I know a lot of people think, the Page of Swords is a little shit. Page of Swords isn't. The Page of Swords is just immature, lacks experience. It's often a card that's seen as the spy or the stalker, and they don't have all the information. That's the point of the Page of Swords. They go in to get more information. Now, why this card is seen as bad news sometimes is because the news that we receive lacks context. It lacks context. So let's say this, with that Eight of Swords, with that Nine of Swords coming up, maybe that worry. No one just wakes up and decides, ooh, it'd be a lovely day to get stressed out and anxious today. No one does that. Is it because you heard something or found out something? With that Page of Swords, and I'll tell you a story that I always tell around the Page of Swords, and that is, imagine this Page of Swords situation is somebody comes up to me and says, Jay, one of my friends comes up to me and says, Jay, I saw your husband outside this motel with that blonde secretary of his. Page of Swords. That's truth. She saw that, but it lacks absolute context. There's no context to that. So how do I get the context? How do I find out? Well, I go and ask him, hey, were you outside so-and-so, with your secretary? And once you do that, that's why this is a kind of brutal honesty. It's about communication. It's asking questions. It's finding out more. Because you may have the truth, but there's no context to that truth. The truth is he was there with a secretary. What does that mean? And so I turn and, I ask that question, and he says, you know what? I had her out looking. I've been busy at work. I had my secretary out looking for a business for us to do. We both work so much, and that could be the house move then as well, right? It works with this reading. But, and she found this place. So on my lunch break, I came and met her here to check it out. And I was going to bring you here later on tonight. It was a surprise for you. There you go. There's the context. Even more context. That's why the Page of Swords is seen as, it may turn out that friend who came and gave me that news, her motives were not clear in that. She purposefully said that because she wanted to break us up. So do you see what I mean? There's always more to the story when the Page of Swords shows up. Now, I personally believe the more to this story is internal because of the Three of Swords that comes up. What is the repeat pattern? Because there's a repeat pattern that's been showing up in your life. And that is what you're afraid that you will repeat. But this is brand new. This is a brand new situation. It is big. And, with that star coming up, it's big. It's different. All right, my lovelies, those were your messages for this month. I was going to say week, for this month. I love you guys very much. Thank you so much for watching. No matter what you get up to in December, please trust, especially with this kind of a reading.